it is. It's a joy to be here with you today. I so look forward to the opportunity to talk about our schools. As those of you who know me know that I will take every chance I'm ever given to talk about the great things we do in our schools. And for those who haven't heard me yet, apologize in advance. But to be with you and to be with the Rotary Club is very special for me because I'm so grateful to the membership of the club and your generosity. The scholarship that you provide to our kids each year is really transformative for those kids. It truly makes a difference. And the work that goes into it, the thinking, the thought, the analysis is really impressive, and it means so much to the families. So thank you for your commitment to the children in New Canaan. It's inspiring to work in a place where we're all working towards those same goals for our children. Because as you'll hear me say multiple times today, I think we do the most important work on the planet in our schools. And when we're all committed to doing that work together, we can do it even better for our kids. Now, there are quite a few familiar faces here, and I don't want to let it go to my head, but I feel like I'm developing a gang of groupies in my circuit here. So it's wonderful. And I will have to refresh my material though. It's really because we do so much, but it's inspiring to think about. And it's great to have a chance to just share some stories. When Rob and I were talking about coming to the Rotary again, of course, led with yes, anytime. And we thought that the beginning of the school year could be fun because we have that positive, that energy, right? So my phone is actually over there on the table instead of right in my pocket because we're just gearing up, and I feel pretty good about where things are. We're going to talk about phones, though. We're going to talk about a couple of things that we're doing in the schools because it's really good work. It's not easy work, but it's important work, and I think it's going to make a big difference for our kids. But first, some of the fun stuff. It's our first days of school they're so energetic. So positive. We have so much fun with it. And one of the things I love about our district is the kids can't wait to get their hands on swag for their schools, right? The kids, the parents, they're buying up all the shirts and the backpacks and whatever they can. And I think my favorite one this year, was the West School shirt that this little girl's wearing that says, "In my West School era," which, you know what that is, right? The era tour, yeah. So, Taylor Swift? Okay, all right, Taylor Swift, yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to have to come back more often. We'll have to spend some time with teenagers. And
yeah, there you go, Bryan. There's a Frank Sinatra reference.
Yeah.
Who's Taylor Swift?
She's some kid that's doing something, whatever. But anyway, the point is, we have fun with kids. Kids have fun in the schools. We make them places where they want to be. They know that they're the most important thing in that school, why we exist, what we do. We will dance with them. We will laugh with them. We'll smile with them. And at the end of the day, it's that graduation as we wish them the best and send them off and trust that the experiences that they've had have been the ones that they need to be prepared for what's ahead. The high school, so I began, as Rob mentioned, as the high school principal, and you're right, they did have to twist my arm a little bit because that was the best job ever. To be the principal of New Canaan High School is truly an amazing spot, although this is a very close second, I think, on most days. No, I love it. It's a great opportunity. But the kids on the first day of school will arrive, so our school day now begins at 8 o'clock. And that we've talked before about the change in start times as a Healthier School Initiative, and really that continues to go very, very well. Our kids will start showing up at about 6:45, only on the first day. And then it's usually 7:59, but we're okay. But they'll get there early. They're all wearing matching shirts. They will line the hallways. Here, they do this every year with their cans of spray, string, as people walk through and celebrate that start. These are our seniors, and they celebrate the start of the school year. So from kindergartners who come in for a half day on day one with their parents and do their meet and greet, to our seniors who are there out over an hour early with their cars painted and ready to go. And this year I give Billy, our principal, quite a bit of credit. He contacted the fire department and asked them to come and just spray down the walkway into the building before the start of the school day, because they also do some creative writing on the bricks. So we clean that up. Very well done. Clean that up and have our kids. But you know, they're engaged right away. I mean, all these pictures are from this year. You see what they're doing right away on day one. They're involved. They're outside. They're in their classrooms. They're learning. We're doing all these things together. We have some changes this year that we'll talk about in a bit. But first, just a little bit, and we're talking, again, John mentioned, I think aptly, we love lists, we love top 10 lists, and as a Columbia grad, you know, I'm sure we fit somewhere in between 1 and 10. But our New Canaan public schools do receive quite a bit of recognition externally for the work that we do. And I don't linger here, but it's an important mention, because there's a couple of things here that I think reflect our values, the work that we've been doing over this last 10 years for me is in the superintendency. This is not my 11th year. One of the things I really like about this is the alignment between best places to teach and districts with the best teachers. Because that tells me that as a school district, we are creating the conditions for our teachers to excel and to thrive, and that the teachers that are coming in are taking advantage of those conditions and doing just that. So that alignment, I think, is an important thing. And it's when you're number 31 out of 11,466 districts, you're doing okay. Right? You're doing pretty well. And so those sorts of numbers it's hard to wrap our heads around even sort of that kind of number. But I think it's a nice testament to some of the efforts and investments that we've made over time and energy.
How do we measure best teachers? Because that sounds wonderful, but how do we know we have the best teachers? What is that done? How is that done?
So what we don't measure ourselves necessarily against other districts, right?
Yeah.
Somebody does.
Yeah.
And this is the niche ranking system, and they have the methodology online that we can go to. I mean, what we really do is we benchmark against ourselves. We use through the quality control that we do. We have a teacher evaluation process that we've developed in-house and refined over the last decade. That is, it's not what the state has done. We have a waiver to be able to do that. And so that work that we've invested in coaching, done quite a bit of work around calibration, feedback, timely feedback, difficult and challenging conversations. So we've made it a focus of ours to really look at the quality of the instructional practice and to find ways to elevate not just those that may be new to the profession and have a long runway, but even to help those that might be in the other side of the profession and maybe expert master teachers. How do we continue to challenge them to grow as well? So it's where we've placed our focus. It's more like golf than a sport event. We work on getting better every time that we have an opportunity to do that. And the results will be what they'll be. We don't have input into this system that they use. The niche rankings are used. It actually came from a couple of guys out of Carnegie Mellon years ago when they were looking at sort of a way to provide information to people looking into real estate, right? Looking into what town they might want to live in. And so they were ranking the towns, and then they expanded and included the schools. What I like about them is they use a more holistic measure. So, and this is, I told you, I can talk about this stuff all day. Thank you for looking interested. So, long and short of it is, be very skeptical and wary of ranking systems that claim to use, say, an AP test, or it's claim to, I'll use the U.S. News and World Reports, not to pick on them, but they're a great example. But they would rank schools and sell magazines and do all of this, and they use a single metric to do the ranking. And the single metric was the percentage of students in a school that took an AP test. And it didn't even matter how well they did on the test. Right? So I can manipulate that in a heartbeat. Just pay for everyone to take one test for free, whether or not they take a class. We'll be number one in the state and the country. It'd be great. That's a problem. And then they expanded it by saying, well, we're going to use these other metrics too. But they used all the other metrics just to see if you qualified to be ranked. And if you did, then they just looked at the number of kids who took an AP test. So be skeptical of ranking systems. And I do this only very briefly, because I think it's something, and I like it better because it's more holistic, but it's not who we are. We don't compete for this. That's not the game. The game that we play is this. And then those results will be what they'll be. And we are looking through our state testing results, and going through that. We do compare those against other other districts in our area, of course, because there's, we have some like districts nearby and otherwise. Or they like to think they're like, but I'm very proud of what we do. Sorry. John, I'm not sure where the filming is going to go, but maybe I should see it. Before we post, let me take a look. I don't want to get disinvited to my regional lunches. But our students performed very, very well once again. And we are at or near the top across the board in grades 3 through 8, in math and in reading. Our teachers do an amazing job in their efforts. Our kids do a great job. It's really, it's sort of when you have the right momentum, you can really continue to build in the right ways and do the right work. And I would argue that we're at a place now, we have continuity of leadership. This is my 11th year as superintendent. It's a bit rare, but it's really not me. It's my cabinet has been here for quite some time. That's my deputy superintendent, assistant superintendents, my directors and others. They've got lots of experience in different roles. Our principals have quite a bit of experience, so they understand their schools and the kids and the community, and they understand what they're doing. And so those kinds of assets build positive momentum that truly make a difference in the school district. And I think that's part of what we're seeing as we look at some of the results with our kids. Again, their assessment, we'll have them out, we'll share them with the Board of Ed in October, and they'll be public and they'll be in the paper, everything else. But as through all of you, there's quite a bit to be proud of for the investments that we've been making in our school system, as measured by all kinds of things. So this, again, is just one. I guess, well, one of the things we keep an eye on is, and you're right, I did actually already remove this joke, if you remember from the other night. I'm not going there today. But we're keeping an eye on our enrollment. Right? We've been very successful as a district, a lot to be proud of, and the community is second to none. I mean, the assets in the community, the wonderful experience that it provides to people that live here is amazing. So we're seeing a bump in our enrollment coming down the line. We're anticipating that in 26-27, we're going to have a jump in our kindergarten enrollment, about 100 students more, according to the demographers right now, than we're accustomed to. And then we're going to see an increased kindergarten enrollment over the next couple of years. That's going to lead to an increase in our K-5 student enrollment, K-4, K-5. So we're planning for that as a board and as a district. So we have a committee together that's meeting. We're doing some work with some external partners that are helping us to plan where do we go with it. We run our preschool, our district preschool for students who have needs, so they're identified in the birth to 3 program, and then we pick them up after 3, from 3 to 5, and then they transition into the schools. And what we look to do, and Connecticut expects this, is for each of our students with needs in the birth to 3, we bring at least one, they call typical student, invited to the preschool. So if we have 30 students with identified needs, we'll look to have 30 typical students, and we match them up, and they go to school together at the youngest grades. And it's really a wonderful program. So we're running our preschool there for our little guys.
Excuse me, sorry.
See, that won't happen in our middle school.
No.
Look at that. So we start as young as 3 with our little guys that need that extra support, and then others in the community that have enroll their students with us. We run our preschool over at West, and we have about 60 students, so we have a good number. We also pick up students on the other side in our launch program. So those same students generally, so they may start with us at 3, go through our pre-K, come through our K through 12 schools, and then instead of graduating when they're 18, they move over to our launch program, which is for students who are 18 to 22.
Wow.
Right, so and a student could be in our school for 21 years as they're going through. And that's part of the program that we run, that it's something that is a source of pride for our district, because we really do believe we do it better than anyone else could. There are other districts that will outsource that 18 to 22, and they'll pay someone else. And I know that because one of our neighbors is paying us for 2 kids in our program this year. But that's the commitment that we have for the families in New Canaan. That's the work that we do. And we really do think deeply about the kids who need it most. And that's a place people want to be. And I think that in part is where we're getting the increased enrollment. If I needed any confirmation of what we're anticipating for the demographers, I think the best anecdotal confirmation came for me on the first day of school when I walked to Elm Street to grab something and I couldn't get through because of all the strollers. I've never seen so many strollers. So, you know, we've moved our offices. We used to be at 39 Locust. Now we're at 220 Elm, right across the street from our friends. And fortunately or unfortunately, from Walter Stewart's Market, we actually had to put a crosswalk in. We were going back and forth. But yeah, it's good. But it's worked out very well. So we made that move, and that's going very smoothly. Anyway, the enrollments are something we're keeping an eye on, both in the longer and short term. The short term is for next year to be sure that we're balanced across our elementary schools. Longer term is to make sure we have the capacity for the students that we're anticipating are going to be here. We also look around at some of the districts around us. Time moves so interestingly. We think of the high school as a recently finished renovation. It's almost 20 years ago.
Wow. Oh, wow.
It was 2006. Yeah. So it's almost 20 years ago.
That's right.
And that's the most recent. And then we had Saks, where we did the auditorium. And that was a smaller-ish project, certainly not the same as the high school project. But we're getting to that point where we'll have some other conversations as well. We'll see where that all goes.
How's the dome doing?
I'm going to get there.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll get there right now. And I'll just skip the slide. So the planetarium, as many of you know, and I actually was able to visit you, I think, a couple of times that year to have some conversation about it. We're open. We are humming. It's so after a couple of years, and we had to pause because of the pandemic and other things, we got back into it. And thanks to some great, amazing work by Sarah Schubert and the committee that she was leading, and the incredible generosity of the town, we were able to do a public-private partnership, although I think I'm not supposed to use that term, but that's what it was, and work together to really turn a 1970 dots on the dome planetarium, which was wonderful in its day, into an immersive learning theater that, again, we'll talk about the phones, but to me, in a world that's driving all of us to look down at a small screen and do it alone and feel that isolation, we've created a 60-seat theater with a 30-foot dome that has state-of-the-art projection and sound for people to come together and have a collaborative, immersive experience that's akin to virtual reality when you really get pulled up into it. That with content that's curated by our teachers, by experts, instead of an algorithm somewhere else. So to me, it's almost the perfect counterbalance to everything that we talk about with phones and that drive to think small, to look down, to be alone, to be almost anonymous. Instead, we have this place that brings people together to share an experience that's curated by an expert and to sort of grow and learn together. To me, there's no better sort of statement of what we value and who we are and what we want for our kids. So it's amazing. And we've already it's at the high school on the 3rd floor. We have our high school kids are using it, the clubs are using it. We've had every second grade, last year, so now they're in 3rd grade. We had every 2nd grader go through and do it. We had every 5th grader go through, and we had every 8th grader go through. So we've already been running in-district field trips to have our kids experience the dome. And we're also, of course, connecting it through the curriculum to different things that we do. So it really is second to none. It's an amazing resource for our community. And we're just starting to look at ways that we can expand and make it available for others. Like me. Oh, yeah. They changed the password on me the other day. I was like, no, change it back. No. And we're going to have open houses, or sort of opportunities for anyone to come walk through and take a look at it. They'll be on our calendar. We're matching them up with our back to school nights for parents. So regardless of what school they might have children in high school, we're going to open up the dome and so people can come and take a look and see it for themselves. And we might even close the door and show a little 10, 15-minute clip of a program so that people can really experience it. So yeah, and then I'm working with the Board of Ed, and we'll have some policies together how people could rent the space and use it, and get into there and really experience it. It's amazing. there are only about a dozen or so high schools in the country that have something like this. And I would argue that ours, being the newest, is the best. It's amazing. It's amazing. And it really is immersive. So it's a virtual reality experience that you get to have with others. It's really, truly special.
We'd love to come and visit.
Yeah, you know what? I'm looking at the size of the group and the whole thing. We can't serve you food, but we can do that after because our cafeteria is also amazing.
Yeah.
So,
Your line goes only so far, Bryan. We sort of lost you on the food.
Bill,
in the
I'm
cafeteria.
going to tell you what. Let me tell you two things about our cafeteria, and I'll get back on track.
All right.
One is
31st in the country.
it's the most successful restaurant in town.
Okay.
No question. And two, 3 of my 10 best lunches of all time have come from that cafeteria. Yes, true story. It's amazing. I've had salmon, we've done calamari, we do. For $4.75. It's the most successful restaurant in town. All right, so yes, so anyway, food matters. Luizzi is my last name. Just a couple of other initiatives that you may or may not hear about, but I think that speak to who we are as a district. We began 2 years ago using some money as a pilot from our BESSER, the COVID money, the grants. We were thinking about how best to use, we didn't get much, but we wanted to invest in something that could make a difference for children. So we began a test of something called the Literacy Academy. And in the Literacy Academy, what we thought about and decided to do was to create something for our youngest students, grades 1 through 4, and really focus on 2 and 3, but 1 through 4, who are struggling to learn to read. And they're generally, they may be identified as special education, they may have other supports, but they're really having a hard time understanding and learning that skill. And it is skill. Learning to read is not a natural thing. We have to learn to do that. We don't, as human beings, we have a language instinct about speaking and listening, but reading is different. And so we have to learn to do that. And some kids don't learn the same way that most kids do learn, whether it's dyslexia or otherwise. So we invested in training, and we have somebody who is a fellow, an Orton Gillingham fellow in the science of reading that we've decided to use. She's one of 100 in the country. So we invested in her training to get her to be to that fellow level. There's only 100 of them in the country that are at this level, and she's the only one in a public school. All the others are in privates and other places. And so we have her overseeing a literacy academy where students who are struggling to learn to read are pulled out and they go for intensive reading support following this program that's aligned with the science of reading. And then they're assessed as they go through the course of the year. Because we believe that if we can get these kids the skills they need before the end of 3rd grade, because you learn to read till 3rd grade, and then after 3rd you read to learn. If we could change that, for that inflection point for them, that we can change the trajectory of their lives, not just in school, but beyond. Because then when they do learn how to read, they can keep up and read in order to learn what they need to know. So this summer we took a close look at a lot of data around these kids. And so we started 2 years ago. We had some success year 1, more success year 2. Now we're going into our 3rd year. And so the money's dried up, so we've been transitioning this into our budget because the results are astounding. The kids are coming in. Some of the kids that are going through the academy are far outpacing the kids in the general ed classroom, which is amazing. And then we're seeing those kinds of results. So we're going to continue to study it. We're going to watch and make sure it sticks. And we're going to test out our hypothesis. But Rob mentioned I was an English teacher. This is my love. And I feel very strongly that if this works the way we think it's going to really make a difference in these kids' lives. So that's something that I'm very proud of, and something that when we talk to other districts about it, they're not seeing this early investment, right? Because this is an investment that's not. It's like we're not going to see a bump in test scores. We're not going to see different college acceptance, whatever, in the short term. We believe we're playing the long game. Right? This is about people's lives. So it's not we don't need a quick turnaround on an investment in order to prove that it's worthwhile. What we need is to show that it's making a positive difference in the life of children. That's it. Because in New Canaan, one of the things that I've learned through the years, that it's the quality of the idea on behalf of children that is the first consideration of anything. And then the rest we talk about later. But it really, what rules the day is the quality of an idea on behalf of children for us here. And I don't know that there's many districts that can say that. And for that, I'm deeply indebted to each of you and the entire community.
So is the Literacy Academy skill set infused into the mainstream grades as well? I mean, so you've got this skill set, that helps the kids with dyslexia, and then they don't have to go, they don't have to go, they can stay
Sure.
here. So, and I know time is limited, but your specialized teachers, is it also infusing the regular classroom teachers with those skill sets to help
Sure.
all the kids?
I'll give you a quick answer here, and then if you want to talk more, I'm happy to. So we think of things in terms of tiers, right? Tier 1 is something that every child gets. It's taught in the general ed classroom. It's a tier 1 thing. Tier 2 is in the class, but you need some more support. Tier 3 is somewhere else where you need more specialized support. This is a tier 3 intervention. But we also have been training and working with our teachers so that it does get infused into all of their tier 1 instruction. So every child's benefiting to some degree from our focus with Orton Gillingham and science of reading, the work that we're doing. And because it is being woven into our practice, instructional practice. And then the students who need the extra tier 3 elsewhere focus, they're getting that too. So it is helping across the board. Yep. It's really, to me, these are the little things, and yes, it could be so, it's so big for the kids that are directly involved. Here's the dome.
Oh, look at that.
See, the slides really just serve as reminders for me to talk about things. I mentioned before, and I won't belabor, but the school start time change that we made a couple of years ago. This is now our 3rd year with our new start times. So we shifted from 7:30 start time at the high school to 8 o'clock. We aligned all 3 of our elementaries to start at 8:40. And then our intermediate school, which is 5-6, starts at 9:15. Now you might say, well, what's a half an hour, Matt? Right? What, 7:30 to 8? Why are you talking about it 2 years later? We're done, move on. The difference is, with this shift, we don't have a single child picked up in the dark in the morning or dropped off in the dark in the afternoon, all 10 months of school. We used to have children picked up at 6:28 in the morning.
Oh,
6:28. And those are high schoolers, obviously. And that mean, well, having 2 girls, that didn't mean they woke up at 6:27. I have 2 daughters, and I know. So that was the goal. Right, so the start time was sort of the where we landed, but the goal was to make sure that no child was picked up in the dark during the school year. And now nobody is. And the same thing on the other side, make sure nobody's dropped off in the afternoon in the dark, and now nobody is. And that was our goal around healthy school start times. And feedback has been very, very positive from the kids, from the adults, from others. We're also continuing our work now with our emotional intelligence in the classroom, teaching our students the skills of emotional intelligence, because we know that it's not enough for them to be good students. We want to do our part to help them to become the best people they can possibly be. And so emotional intelligence, for us in general, is about creating that space between stimulus and response so that the individual is in control instead of being controlled by the emotions. So we use something called a mood meter. And so if the red is mad, the yellow, you see brave and sad and calm, and there are 70, 80, 90 different emotions that you can chart throughout as you and we're teaching students the vocabulary to understand themselves and each other. So, if you have a teenager, you say, how was your day? It's fine. How are you doing? I'm fine.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm fine. Right. But little guys we're working on, and we're getting them. And the idea here is that, sort of name entertainment. You have to understand enough to, are you angry or are you frustrated? Are you stressed or do you feel pressure? Depending upon what those things are, different strategies will help you to move through them. But if everything's just stressed, then you don't know how to move through that. And if just a very quick example, so we often would say our kids are so stressed, But stress is what you feel when you don't have the resources to meet your tasks. So we say they're so stressed, so we throw more tutoring at them, we throw more of this at them, we throw more of that at them, trying to help them through their stress. But it's not a resource issue. The kids aren't really feeling stress, what they're feeling is pressure. And by us just putting more resources at it, it just makes them feel more pressure. Because look, they give me all these tutors and I'm still not doing well in the class. right? Those kinds of, so that, we think of it as stress, but if we understand that just that difference alone, we know that if it's pressure, which means that they're worried that an action in the present will have a disproportionate impact on their future, then we can work on that space and help them understand that it's okay to do your best and have a minus after the letter. It doesn't have everything, it's okay to learn and to try and to sometimes fail. It's okay. It's not going to change the trajectory of your life. But the kids think it is, and they're immersed in a world that tells them that it is. So just that alone, I think I use that example for myself to remember why this is so important. But if we don't know what it is, we can't help them through it. And if they don't know what it is, they can't ask for help. So that's why I think one of the reasons I think this work is so important. I was reading in a kindergarten class last year, and it's so much, that's the best thing ever. I love this, that's so much fun. We read our book and we're laughing, we're going through the pictures, and then the teacher says to them, okay, go chart yourself on the mood meter. And I turned to the teacher and said, what? She said, yeah, they go and they check in on their feelings, then we go back to class. I said, yeah, but what if they're all blue? This is terrible. What if I get a bad rating? This will be the worst feedback ever. Luckily I did okay, but it was a lot of pressure. And so now I know what that means. Now I know what that means. So, as young as our kindergartners, they're doing this work. And we're working through with emotional intelligence to create charters and to understand what we're doing. Am I going to run out? Yeah. Oh my gosh. All right, let's do cell phones real quick. See, I told you. All right, so I'll just do cell phones real quick. Okay, so what it says is, it keeps me from looking at my phone every 2 seconds and he has a little dog collar around his neck. My belief is, and I've come to this through years of study. I'm a technologist. I was raised that way, and I believe in the power of technology and the transformative nature that it can play. I believe in it with education. I think we do amazing things. And I should say, I've learned that cell phones aren't that kind of technology, and that I believed that if we could just teach them well enough to use their phones responsibly, that they would. Now I believe that no matter how well we teach them, the phones are going to win that battle. Yeah. They win the battle with the adults, they win the battle with kids. There's just no way. So we need a system to help the kids so that they don't have to, it's not a willpower question. And when they access their phones when we don't want them to, they're not being irresponsible. They're just doing what the phones are telling them to do. So they're not in control of that relationship with technology. So I've learned that really in the classroom, phones have no place in the classroom, right? Back in the 80s, 90s, beepers had no place in the classroom. They have no place. And there's other technologies and other things we can use to do it. So we need to manage that, and it's not enough to say just put it away, because it's going to be calling out to them at the middle school especially, and even the high school. So what we're working to do is help them to develop relationship with personal technology where they're in control, and they're in charge of it, instead of the device being in charge of it. And we're not just doing this with kids, we're doing it with the adults. Because I think all of us, and this is when I talk to the teachers, and it was almost a therapy session. I mean, I'm not trained for that. People were raising their hands saying, I have a problem. I'm looking at my phone too often. And when we have our phones, whether it's on the table at dinner, on our desk during school, we're in a meeting, if we walk in a meeting, put our phone down, what we signal to everybody else in that room is that they're less important than the phone. Even if it's face down, it doesn't matter. And when we do that to kids make sure that we know we're not important to them either. Because that's what kids do. That's all, it's all that. So with our teachers, with everyone that's involved, we're working hard to develop systems. So in elementary school, not allowed. The phone, the watch, and none of that. You can't have it in their K-4 schools. In the high school, when students walk into a classroom, there's going to be a caddy in the back of every door. It's been there, where they're going to put their phone, their earbuds, their watches, and it's going to stay there for the entire period. If they go to the bathroom, they can't take it with them. If they go to the nurse, they go to the nurse without it. It's got to stay there. And in the middle school, where they're not supposed to have them, but we know they did, we're using a Yonder locking pouch system that we don't have them yet. I wanted to bring them and have you all put your phones in them, but, and then tell you that the battery wasn't working, open them up. But anyway, another joke. But the locking pouch system is really, the intent there is to make it so that they can't access them. They put them away, they have them with them during the day. But by removing that instant access, we really expect, we've seen lots of research around this in schools that have done this otherwise, that it will reshape that relationship with technology. And we're working with the parents, we're working with Canaan Unplugged, some of the external groups, and doing some really good work around that. We're gonna have some programs that we're running. I really feel like this is vital work for us. For this, again, is a long-term investment for today, it's going to evolve, but it's not just in schools, it's also in households. And I know, again, my daughters are 21 and 23, and when we're talking and they look at their phone, I just stop talking. And sometimes I just sit there a long time. I'm just saying that. I'll just leave it at that. 23 and 21. I'm so sorry. There's so much more I'd love to tell you, but thank you so much for.
I'm not surprised you run over. So much coming.
I'm only just warming up.